bit of a question. So, what is the NFL supposed to do when it comes to the referees, and more importantly, the referees missing calls during the playoffs, more importantly, during games like the conference championships and even the Super Bowl? What is the NFL supposed to do? I mean, for years, the referees have always been in the midst of controversy, some rightfully so. Some have made calls or some missed calls, or have made calls that should and should have not been made. Sometimes it looks like, through visual evidence, that they're blatantly favoring a certain team because maybe there's a certain player on there that's looked at as the star of the league. So what is the NFL supposed to do? That's up to Roger Goodell and the NFL. Now, Roger Goodell is definitely going to have to look into not letting controversy overlap. I'm pretty sure a lot of people would say that one solution is just remove the referees from the game. Or at least if you're going to have refs, just have them there to count the downs. Forget about the fouls and the flags and all that. Just, whatever. Or perhaps the solution is to basically hire some unbiased referees that have no ties to a location or region where a team might be from. You see, whatever the solution is that the NFL has to come up with to fix the situation with the referees and the controversial calls or no calls that they make, it has to be done soon. You see, one thing I've made a comparison about, and I've even talked about this, and Greg Morgan of Good Mic Work even pointed this out, and I even tweeted back to him, something along the lines of, thank you, finally someone sees what I see. Because you see, it seems that the NFL is becoming like professional wrestling, more along the lines of WWE. Well, basically, it seems that every season, especially when you get towards the end and you get into playoff time, it's pretty much scripted out of how things are going to go. If it was not scripted whatsoever, people would probably look at the fact that Kansas City would have easily prevented Brady from getting a touchdown in overtime and getting the ball back. Some would say if it wasn't scripted, New England, if they're as good as they say they are, or as people feel they are, would have allowed Kansas City to have the ball first. That's pretty much a given. You know what I'm saying? But it's always scripted. But it seems that that's where the NFL is heading. They're heading, if you know what I mean. Because think about it this way. Kansas City seemed a little off yesterday. They picked it up in the second half to basically give us a classic. But they seemed a little off, which was unusual. You would think a team like Kansas City wouldn't be off like they were. They'd be focused. They'd make sure no mistakes were made. If any mistakes were made, they'd make sure they were very limited. So, what happened? What happened earlier in the day with New Orleans and Los Angeles? Some say that what happened there was because of the referees missing a call, pass interference. You see, a lot of questions arise, especially during this time of year and during conference championship time. Because it's like, it seems that the referees and even the teams themselves seem to be acting a little differently. They seem to be acting different from what they were in the regular season, if not the week before. So it's obvious to me, and I know some people might disagree with me and I'll have detractors, no doubt. but it seems very obvious to me that the NFL has become a part of sports entertainment. It's no longer just a legitimate sport. It's also entertainment now. I mean, take a look at the fact that you have certain NFL players appearing in commercials like the regular actors. They went to acting school. Maybe they had an acting coach given to them. Who knows? The point is, what's driving people away from the NFL is not just the players getting on their knees during the national anthems. That's one thing. That's one thing that's driving fans away, is the whole, kneeling thing. That's one thing that's driving them away. But the other thing that's driving fans away is they're finally seeing what I and several others, including Good Mike Works' Greg Morgan, have been saying for the longest time, or have been noticing for the longest time, and that is the NFL is becoming like a professional wrestling company, a professional wrestling. It's basically, it's like a hybrid. It's like a hybrid. It's like the WWE and UFC combined. And the reason I say that is because the UFC is a legit sport. But when it comes to certain times or certain moments in fights, you obviously know that what's going to happen to build up a fight is scripted, but the end result in the octagon could be scripted as well. It's legit, but it's also scripted. I mean, seriously, if you take a look at a fighter like Conor McGregor, and the fact that he lost to that other guy, and then the aftermath, if Conor McGregor is as good as he says he is, and he is, he wouldn't have easily been knocked out or beaten up. See what I'm saying? A lot of fans start noticing similarities. In other words, they're noticing that it seems that certain teams that are on fire throughout the whole season, and even in the early portions of the playoffs, seem to kind of droop a little bit in time. And what I mean by droop, in other words, they seem to fall off. It's like something's missing. And then you realize, wait a minute, could this all be planned out? Are the referees really to blame? And maybe they are, but also is the fact that the reason this has been happening is because, as one person pointed out in commentary on Twitter, and they pointed this out on Twitter, could the fact that the Rams versus the Patriots been the Super Bowl game that's been pinned since the beginning, has been set up since the beginning of the season? Because if that's the case, I know a lot of people will look at the Super Bowl lately and say, you know what, you might as well call it the Brady Bowl. It's not the Super Bowl anymore, it's the Brady Bowl. We pretty much know Tom Brady's always going to get there. And that might be true. But the thing is the NFL becoming like WWE, becoming like pro wrestling, scripted and predictable, even from the beginning of the season? Because if that's what's going on, like I said, that's what's driving fans away. It's not just, like I said, the kneeling during the national anthem. It's not just the kneeling. It's also the fact that a lot of fans are starting to see through what's going on in the NFL. They're starting to see the fact that the NFL is becoming more like WWE. It's becoming more like a pro wrestling, a scripted environment. Like I said earlier, it's like a hybrid. It's like what you're seeing on the field and everything, that's legit. But what you see doing it as well might feel a little off. Like, if you know your team, the Kansas City Chiefs, are as good as people build them up to be, then they should have easily been able, like I mentioned, to be able to stop the offense of the Patriots and get the ball back in overtime, right? Same with the Saints. If the Saints had a good defense in the NFC, like a lot of people build them up to have, they would have been able to beat back the Rams and prevent them from hitting the goal-winning field goal, or the game-winning field goal, I should say. You see, it makes you wonder, it makes you think. And I know there's a lot of conspiracies out there. Heck, a lot of conspiracies are going to be frogging up now since yesterday during the NFC game, and even because of partially what happened in the AFC game. Because you can't tell me in the AFC game, and I watched it, that there weren't some calls made, that there weren't some moments and calls made that didn't make any sense. So there's going to be a lot of theories and conspiracies brought up. But what the NFL has to do is they have to do something about this. They either have to do something about the referee situation, or they have to do something to prove to everybody that they're losing as fans. If they want to get that fan base back, they got to prove the fact that, hey, we're not like wrestling. We're not scripted. We're not this. And if they could do that, they might win back their fan base, because then the way they would do it is to make sure that the better team won, that the best teams win. You know what I'm saying? Now, I know I'm going to have, like I said, some detractors. Heck, I'm going to have some detractors out of New Orleans and New England while I'm saying this. And you guys have the right to say what you want. I mean, not New Orleans, but Los Angeles, I should say. I'm going to have detractors out of both those areas. And you guys in LA and New England and the Boston region, you have all the right to say what you want to say. You have an opinion. And look, I'm not saying that, New England won because of controversy. I'm not saying that there was a brief moment, I think what was in the fourth quarter before they went to overtime, when New England was in the huddle, here comes the referee and he's talking to Brady, and you're thinking, oh great, there's a buddy of Brady's, they're going to win kind of deal. Because that will be the first thing coming to your mind. But, you have a right to your opinions to disagree with me or anybody else. Heck, I'll put it this way. When I compare the two championship games, as crazy as this sounds, New England and Kansas City was the less controversial out of the two. And I will be honest. Tom Brady is a great quarterback. He's probably one of the greatest of all time, as people put it. And perhaps being at 42 years of age, this could be it. This could be the last one. Maybe that's why he's going. Maybe he wants to go out on a high note saying, hey, I won 6 Super Bowls. Well, 5 out of the 6 Super Bowls for New England. And if that's the reason, that's the reason. But the point is what I'm trying to get at is the NFL needs to fix the situations they're in right now. They need to fix the kneeling. They need to fix the situation with the referees. And more so, above all that, they need to fix the deal with fans looking at them as becoming a more scripted and predictable sport. They need to show that they're not that, and they need to basically show the fact that they are legit, they're not scripted, they're not becoming like a wrestling thing or whatever, and that they are the same NFL that we've known for a long time. But when I talk about scripted and everything and being predictable, here's one thing that was pointed out. Andy Reid should have called a timeout to get his defense a little bit of a breather. Kind of talked them over about strategy and how to prevent the Patriots from scoring the game-winning touchdown, which they did. Here's the problem. Andy Reid didn't do that. He had his players on there, and it basically cost them. And that, to me, is another evidence of the NFL becoming a scripted product. Andy Reid was following a script. He was told, okay, we're going to go into overtime, and you keep your defense on there, don't call a timeout, let the Patriots win. There's no doubt that's probably it. No doubt. But if you want to talk about controversy as well that gets added to this, that controversy that doesn't even go to the refs either, what I'm sure a lot of people noticed like I did, it seemed like the Patriots seemed to get into a formation every time Tony Romo, who's a commentator for CBS now, would call it out. He would say this formation, and all of a sudden it would happen. Now, I don't know if he was just right on the money, or some people have theorized and conspired with the fact that maybe the Patriots had the feed into the helmets. Maybe there was little mics in their helmets that told them, hey, listen to what Romo says, that's going to help you. We don't know. We don't know. That's a lot of conspiracies and a lot of theories. But the thing is, in the end, the overall reasoning I'm doing this video is basically, like I said, to bring up the fact that the NFL needs to fix these problems. Roger Goodell needs to fix these problems or step down. Because if he doesn't step down and these problems consistently grow and continue to be a bother, people are going to want him to step down. They're going to petition him to step down because he's not doing his job. So all I can say in the end is, no matter how you look at it, whether you look at the fact that the NFL is becoming scripted and that's why you're losing interest, they're becoming like WWE and wrestling and whatever, whether you look at it the fact that during the playoffs and mostly the conference championships, the referees seem to screw up and make or miss certain calls that should be made and shouldn't be made, and stuff like that, because the NFL wants certain teams in the Super Bowl. You can conspire and theorize that maybe the Patriots had mics in their helmets that got them the feed for for whatever formation they had, because predictably or just before it happened, Tony Romo would call it and all of a sudden it would happen. So to me, if the NFL wants all this to go away, they need to fix these problems. They need to prove to us that the referees are not to blame. They need to prove to us that there is no conspiracies, there is no, feeding into helmets with mics about information and formations they need to do and stuff like that. They need to prove to us that they're not scripted, that they are a legit sport, like they always have been. Once they fix several of these problems, if not all of them, amongst many, including the kneeling, then not only will they regain that fan base they've been losing, but they will also regain the trust. But they need to fix the problems, these 4 problems, now. And that's all I'm going to say on it, guys. All I'm going to say, though, is this. If you're wondering what team I'm going to cheer for, hey, I live in California. The closest major city to us, when you go down south that way, is Los Angeles. And if you want more evidence about that, not that long ago we were selling National League champions Los Angeles Dodgers merchandise. So there's no doubt that because we're the Central Valley, we're right in the middle, we're going for Los Angeles. Just like when they were in St. Louis, even though I lived in Lawrence, Kansas, and was closer to Kansas City, St. Louis was the closest to us, we went with them. So, all I can say, though, in the end, is the NFL needs to fix these 4 problems I've mentioned. And if they want to get people off the back, if they want all these theories and conspiracies and all that, basically all the controversy and stuff to go away. And either Roger Goodell needs to step up and make sure that happens, or he needs to step away. So, that's all I'm going to say on it, guys. Let me know what you all think about what I had to say here. Comment down below. Let me know what you all think. I got to get back into work, and I'll talk to y'all later.